about to start, y'all. From coast to coast, from shore to shining shore. You in front of the speakers, Jimmy in front of that microphone. Like the Lord intended. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. Hey, feel that floorboard shake. Faith meets fire when Jimmy Lakey's away. Truth on his tongue, little smoke in the air. He'll say the words you won't even dare. Lakey unleashed and unfiltered. Unleashed and unfiltered. Coast to coast and shore to shore we roll. Politics and information. Infotainment, revelation. He talks Jesus, he talks real life. We are here for more elation on scene. Oh, the show starts now. He's unafraid. Telling the truth. Quiet. Faith in his heart, a little fire in his hand. We're having church on the air. Amen. Amen. One time for the truth. One time for the truth. Two times for the king. Three times for the king. Three times for Jimmy Lakey. Three times for Jimmy. Let revival ring. Let revival ring. The show starts now. Now.
All right.
Like you got me. Unleashed and unfiltered. Unleashed and unfiltered. Hey.
All right, the show does start now. Right now, Lakey, unleashed, unfiltered, and unafraid, says Brother Leroy. Friday, the 14th day. 13th day, I got it wrong. Producer Chad corrected me once, and I still got it wrong. Friday, the 13th day of February, year of our Lord 2024. Producer Chad informed me before the show. Breaking news: your life will be different now. There are 3 Friday the 13th this year. One this month, one next month, and one in November. By the way, if the one in November occurs, it doesn't matter what day of the week November the 13th is. It is always my birthday. Start planning ahead and saving for those gifts and presents. Thank you, and you're welcome. Anyway, good to have you here on the program that we do call the Lakey Unleashed stream and a broadcast, podcast, streamcast. Glad to have all of you tuning in from across the fruited plain and around the global sphere. We welcome you into the show today. Drew Thomas Allen going to be on the show here with us in just a minute. Our friend Sherry Creed joins in. Immigration attorney Peter Lumage is going to be with us. And also, don't forget, I didn't change it on the sheet, but it should say Doug Childs is going to be on the show today as well. So anyway, good to have all of you here. There's going to be a government shutdown tonight, partial government shutdown, because the Dems, the libs are throwing a tantrum about ICE. They don't like the way ICE behaves. Then they want reforms of ICE. But the shutdown's not going to affect ICE at all, because ICE has already been funded. It will affect the Coast Guard. It will affect transportation safety workers, meaning the TSA at the airport. It's just stupid, and the Democrats are letting this happen. And here's another stupid part of it. While we're going to do some bipartisan call-outs here. Republicans run the Senate and the House, and the Senate did not pass this. John Thune is the head of the Senate, and he did not get this passed. I believe that's his name. He didn't get this passed. The Senate's going on recess. They're going to take all next week off. You know what? If you're a Republican in the U.S. Senate, you ought to be decrying and rebuking your leadership for letting there be a recess at all. You in Washington, D.C., you little jackwagon, smarmy, corrupt politicians on both sides of the aisle, you have one job and one job only. That's to do the business of the American people. And what part of the business of the American people is figuring out what parts of the government should be funded. And if we're not going to fund them, let's shut them down permanently, but stop this government shutdown, throwing tantrums all the time, knock it off. And so since the Democrats are throwing a tantrum, the Republicans should say, well, you know what? If you're not going to be big boys and girls over there on the left side of the aisle, then we're not going to have a recess. We're going to be right here. We're not recessing. We're going to hang out here. And if you're not here, we'll vote yourself without you. They ought to play with the rules and make sure that these politicians, Republicans and Democrats, have to keep their butts in Washington, D.C. Well, they need to go back to the district to talk to the people. They need to go see their families. These guys and ladies don't give a rat's patootie about what's happening in their district. They just don't want to do the duties that they're supposed to do in Washington, D.C. So if I were anybody out there, and if you're in Thune's district or maybe anybody across America, you ought to be calling your senators to say, why the hell are you recessing? The government is shut down. Why are you taking your butts back to whatever home state it is as a U.S. senator? You do not deserve to go home. You deserve to have your asses locked into a room and do a cage match if you need to between Bernie Sanders and Ted Cruz. I don't care. Let's get the dang thing done and stop this jackwagon play along that you guys do all the time. And then, oh, we're shut down and we're so bothered by the shutdown. You're going to watch this. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries is going to come out and say how bothered they are by this shutdown. We're so offended by this shutdown. If you were that offended, Chuck, get your ass back to Washington, D.C., and let's work on it. Don't take the vacation. Don't forget, read every line that you hear, assuming that they take the vacation and they recess for a week or several days next week. Every time you hear one of these lying Sacagawea politicians out there saying that they're bothered and horrified of the government shutdown, they're not bothered and horrified of the government shutdown. It's the TSA workers. It's the people on the front lines of the battle that are going to suffer during this government shutdown, and your smarmy ass U.S. Senator like Chuck Schumer is going to be back doing whatever he does in New York City on his week off. He doesn't care about the shutdown. They only care about the semantics and the cinematics of it, and it's really ridiculous, and it's disgusting that Republican leadership is allowing this recess to happen in light of a government shutdown. They ought to keep their butts in Washington, D.C., and keep on working and do that. All right, Friday the 13th it is. Anybody superstitious today? Are you superstitious? Anybody got the superstition? I'm not real stitious or superstitious. I'm just not. But, good luck with today. Friday the 13th. Anybody got scared of Friday the 13th? Floors, the airlines don't have a 13th row. The elevators don't have the number 13 on the push button dial. I was born on the 13th, so I got no problem, stition or superstition regarding the Friday the 13th. The number 13th is a very glorious day because without the number 13th, you would not be blessed with my presence right now. So thank God for the number 13. Anyway, is there anything to be said, though, that it's happening the day before Valentine's Day? That's a question for you. It's the day before Valentine's. Does that mean you're unlucky in love, perhaps? Today is the first of three Friday the 13th. As I said, the last time the Friday the 13th was right before Valentine's Day was in 2015. And it's obviously... It's rare that it happens. It happens, obviously, it has to happen anytime the Valentine's Day is on a Saturday. The real question is today is also what is called Galentine's Day. Do you know this? That's the holiday dedicated to honoring of your female friendships and platonic love. And it was inspired by an old episode of Parks and Recreation. So the 13th is called Galentine's Day. Anybody celebrate this crap? I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't know if anybody does. Yeah, like people have Friendsgiving instead of Thanksgiving. Yeah, Galentine's Day. That's where all you ladies celebrate and honor each other's friendship. I'm just asking you. Anybody celebrate that? Here's another question. By the way, is anybody else superstitious? I mean, I know corporate America is superstitious about the 13th. They don't do a 13th floor, 13th row in an airplane. Do any of you skip out on the 13th? I mean, would you let's say, avoid the number 13 when hanging out with your besties? I make 13. Oh, we got to add one more. We can't just have 13 in a group. Like if you're sitting at the bar, like some of us maybe have before, and you're having brunch and on a glorious weekend, and you realize you've had 12 mimosas, would you go to the 13th or would you skip it? Listening to Taylor Swift like 13 times in a row. Would you do it? I don't know, making stuff up. I just questioned, does anybody else have superstition regarding the number 13, or is that just like the airlines and the elevator makers? I'm just curious about that. Is there any real superstition out there lurking under the shadow of my voice that has any real superstition about the number 13? Because the way you skip rows and skip floors on buildings, you would think that maybe we have it's a big deal to be superstitious about the number 13. Just curious, asking the question. All right, now we think of Valentine's Day. Yesterday we learned that some people in our chat room were going to celebrate. Jeff in particular came to mind, caused a real scene. Almost perverse, talking about how he's going to watch Hallmark movies by the fireplace and has his fingers crossed for what happens next. Too much information, I must say, but he does this. But he tells us all this yesterday. Let me ask you, a lot of times we've emphasized the romance of Valentine's Day and how romantic it can be in the candlelight dinner. And maybe it's a time that you're going to get to just have a great time of celebration with your significant other, your spouse, right? Well, we do that. Who else do you celebrate Valentine's Day with? I remember growing up as a kid, my mother always made sure we had Valentine's cards and candy, and it was like Christmas, but my grandmother sometimes would mail us a Valentine's card for Valentine's Day. So I'm just curious, we talk about the romance of Valentine's Day. Who else do you celebrate during Valentine's Day? Who else do you buy Valentine's for? It's not obviously Valentine's Day does not have to be about a romantic or erotic love. It can be more about a platonic love where you celebrate those you love. Matter of fact, there are surveys now that say that 57% of all Americans, all people celebrate Valentine's Day, say it's more about celebrating all relationships. So let me ask you, how many of you, who all do you celebrate? Which relationships do you celebrate today? Maybe you got your spouse some flowers. Maybe you got them a balloon. Maybe you got them a box of chocolates. Maybe you're going out to a nice dinner, but are you celebrating? Did you let your kids know or your grandkids know or anybody else know about Valentine's Day? What other relationships are you celebrating today during Valentine's or tomorrow during Valentine's Day? 57% of people say it's about celebrating all of your relationships. So I'm just curious, who else is on your Valentine's list? Let us know. That is your question of the day. Who all do you celebrate on Valentine's Day? That, again, is your question of the day. Feel free to jump in. Love to get your take on it. It would be a fantastic conversation for us to have one with another. So, so jump in there. Friday the 13th before the Valentine's Day, but who will you celebrate tomorrow? Is it just your spouse, your lover, or is there someone else in mind for you? So let us know that in the topic of conversation. We'll talk later on the program about let's talk later on in the program about immigration with Peter Lumage, an immigration attorney. We'll have that conversation here in just a bit. But Representative Jim Jordan is working on something that I think you would find interesting, that I think you should find interesting. He's working on a piece of legislation in which it would address the problem of sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. You saw in Minnesota, one of the problems is they're a sanctuary city, they're a sanctuary state. Now, our governor, he's a dumbass here in Colorado, Jared Polis, he says, we're not a sanctuary state, except it's that goofball that signed a bill that basically makes it illegal for any policing sheriff's agency to notify ICE when they have a detainer on someone that this person's in jail. And they had this problem in Minnesota, and finally Tom Homan showed up, and they finally agreed to allow the ICE officers and Immigration Customs Enforcement to go into the jail rather than releasing these dangerous criminals back on the streets. Well, Jim Jordan is working on legislation that would work against the sanctuary cities. I want to get into this because this is, again, we often get caught up in a lot of crazy stuff in Washington, the big picture stories. This is a real important bill that Jim Jordan is working on, and it's a crackdown on sanctuary cities and states that would come from the federal government. As they violate federal law, the federal government would put some teeth into their actions against these cities and states. So I'll get into the details of this because it's a good bill. And again, everybody's going to be talking about the government shutdown and Iran and Nancy Pelosi's Botox treatment, all the other topics we get caught up in. But you need to pay attention to this bill that's being put together and crafted by Representative Jim Jordan. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good to have you here on the Lakey Unleashed Streamcast Broadcast Podcast. I like saying it like that. The Streamcast Podcast and Broadcast. By the end of the day, thousands of earballs will hear this show and or see this show. Once, if you're watching us live on many of the 7 or 8 platforms we're on right now, and if you're also watching live on the YouTubes, all the platforms, or you're listening later on the Spotify, the iHeart, the Podbean, the Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, we're glad to have you here on the program. And please always remember, I like you. Some of you, not all of you. Our first guest of the morning, Drew Thomas Allen. He jumps into the program. He's written a fantastic new book. We'll talk about this in just a second. And Drew Thomas Allen hops in from the green room now. There he is, sir. Mr. Allen, how are you?
Hey, Jimmy, I'm good, man. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you, sir. First of all, let's just do it right up front. You've got a great new book inspired by the life of Charlie Kirk and all that he stood for. Talk about your new book, and everybody needs to get a copy of it. Nothing says love to your partner or your friends and neighbors in Valentine's weekend than getting a book by Drew Thomas Allen in their hands. Romantic as hell.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, look, it's not a biography. It's a story of my transformation after his death, grappling with this feeling, this surge of grief and sadness and confusion after he was murdered. And then it gets into actually a lot of really important topics that nobody wants to talk about, which is, left-wing violence and why it's happening and where it comes from and holding the left accountable, proving the point that their rhetoric is actually leading to acts of violence, that in fact, the left is responsible for Charlie Kirk's murder. There's a chapter called 9/10 is the new 9/11, talking about how dangerous the left has become. The terrorists that celebrated after 9/11 in the Middle East. Well, we had our own Democrat neighbors celebrating Charlie's death right here. And of course, talking about the transgender issue, because, if this individual, that climbed up on the roof ends up being found guilty, this is who I believe, it makes sense, is responsible for Charlie Kirk's murder. And of course, he was steeped in the very rhetoric, baptized into the kind of transgender ideology, if you will, which we know is producing murderers, like in Canada, we just saw most recently. So, look, this is a spiritual awakening. It's a call to Christians, especially on what we're doing wrong and what we need to do to pick up these pieces and prevent this kind of thing from happening again in this country.
After every school shooting, I lived literally down the street from Columbine High School when that happened, and was on the radio in Denver, and very near and dear to my heart, a big time in my life, and went to church with a lot of kids that were at Columbine, so I know the story well. And you watch these school shootings that happen, and I'll give a long setup. Everybody afterwards, the politicians all want to talk about guns, 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 and nobody ever wanted to talk about maybe were the kids on any kind of pharmaceuticals, was there Adderall, was there hyperactivity? No one wanted to have that conversation. Occasionally somebody wanted to blame the video games, but really the politicians just really wanted to look at it as a gun grab. In recent years, in the last 12, 24 months, anytime you had some of these shootings, there's been something that definitely they don't want to talk about, even more than they didn't want to talk about the drugs. They didn't want to talk about the transgender aspect of it, from the Charlie Kirk shooter to the shooter at the Christian school in Nashville. We could go through the list of how it seems like transgenderism is something that's happening with these shooters that are attempting or accomplishing murder. It's fascinating. No one wants to call out this elephant in the room. It can't be a coincidence, as so many of these recent incidents have been perpetrated by people that were in some kind of a transition.
Now, look, I mean, it's not complicated, but we've been beaten down and threatened into submission to this religion of its own, transgenderism and radical gender theory. Look, these people are mentally ill. With this Canadian shooter, which was, I think he was 20. It's a he, okay, right? That's the point. It gets confusing with all the stuff. Transgender man. I mean, it's a girl that thinks they're a man, for example. This is a biological male who is transitioning to female, and the mental health services visited this Canadian kid multiple times. And so the point is, look, if you, it's crazy that you even have to explain this, Jimmy. If you're anorexic or bulimic, that's not encouraged behavior in our youth. We don't tell them that, hey, if you think you're too fat or don't like your image, yeah, it's a good idea, and I encourage you to go throw up or not eat, to satisfy whatever you're seeking. Well, when it comes to transgenderism, you look in the mirror and you say, well, I don't like my sex. And so you want to trend. And so obviously it takes you down a pathway and a journey where at some point you can't make it back. The physical changes are permanent. Sterility follows. And these puberty blockers and these chemicals that they're putting you on, these are used also to castrate sex offenders. And this is genital mutilation. It's not, affirming care, as they like to call it. And it should have no place. And of course, Jimmy, this is so typical of the left and how they maneuver, because like everything, they start out with a goalpost where it doesn't end up, right? So they say, oh, we just believe, if you're an adult, these people should be accepted and they can do what they want to them. Okay. And we say, okay, yeah, fine. And then the next thing you know, in elementary school, a teacher is telling your son or daughter, affirming that, oh, you're uncomfortable today. I mean, obviously every kid's uncomfortable. Every kid has problems. We're confused. We have hormones stuck on. But now you've got teachers sanctioned by the government and state telling these kids, you know what the problem is? I know what it is. You're the wrong gender. Yeah. You need to have a sex, change surgery and get on these puberty blockers. So it exacerbates mental illness. It is a mental illness in itself. And of course, it leads to violence. You're rebelling against God himself, by the way, Jimmy. So it's not going to go well.
Yeah, it's fascinating that we want to call out these puberty blockers and these things that they're doing to a kid's body. And don't talk about that. Don't even discuss that. Well, if you want to run a television ad for a blood pressure medicine or an erectile dysfunction medicine on television, half the commercial are the disclaimers of how it could affect you negatively. It could cause this. Stop using. If you feel this, stop using. And I would like to see if they ever wanted to advertise these castration drugs or these puberty blockers or drugs and other drugs, these hormonal treatments that they're giving. If they were to be an ad on television, how long would the disclaimer have to be? It's not. It's very likely that it's going to be a very long list, but for us to say that, hey, there's some list of disclaimers here, don't say that. It's a very good thing. It's gender affirming. No, it's like taking a statin for blood pressure is not blood pressure affirming. There are some high risk of putting that chemical in your body, that compound in your body. And why is it sacrilege to mention that? It's just common sense.
Yeah. And look, I mean, here's the thing. The left wants to operate from this position that transgenderism, right, is a good thing. It's not a good thing for anyone. If somebody is an alcoholic, you don't give them a bottle of Jack Daniels every day and say, have at it. You do you. And this is the thing. I mean, you have to draw a moral line somewhere. And obviously, if you're 18 or older and you want to go and do certain things, or like you're 21 and older, and you want to drink yourself to death, I can't stop you from doing that per se. But the thing is, Jimmy, it's people like me and you and rational people, especially Christians, who are the people who are speaking from a position of love. The suicide rates are near 50% in terms of people who've thought about it. 1 in 4 young kids has actually tried suicide who identifies as transgender. And this community is the most coddled in the world. So you would think that these statistics would not be that if you follow the left's logic, right? Because, these people just aren't treated right. I mean, they're coddled at every turn. And so it's me that sits here and says, look, I want to protect and defend our kids. I want them to pursue happiness. We know where that pathway we know the correct pathway to put them on. We know what the problems are, and we're not going to affirm this because we love the kids. And yet Democrats, under the banner of love, which of course is a lie, like all of their policies and positions and everything else, they look at those statistics of suicide and thoughts of suicide. They look at, the Canadian incident or Audrey Hale in Nashville, and they don't want to talk about it at all. In fact, they want to double down, and they want to, for example, Jimmy, every time you have an instance of a transgender shooter, right? And obviously not every transgender person is going to be a mass shooter. That's not the argument either. But every time you have an incident of this, and when the manifesto in particular aligns with and it parrots, left-wing talking points about, race relations or other things, the Democrats in this case, the left in Canada, whatever, they all rush to defend the transgender community and even, the individual trans killer effectively. I mean, you don't see this with anything else. I mean, these are the same people that malign you and me and tens of millions of Americans as Nazis and fascists without any evidence because it's not true. And yet when it comes to an actual act of violence, they want to rush to, protect and defend the ideology that it, is behind it.
Yeah. Drew Thomas Allen is my guest. His latest book is called For Christ and Country. You can see it over his left shoulder there. It's about the martyrdom of Charlie Kirk, and you should get a copy of it if you haven't. You'll read it and be inspired for it. You just get a copy. It's called For Christ and Country. Drew, one of the reasons I like talking to you, like the book, is that you and I come from a very same paradigm. A lot of folks get spun up in Washington, government shutdown, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, left, right, politics, red, blue stuff. And sometimes I can become a happy warrior, and I kind of laugh at some of it because the scripture says we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but powers and principalities in an unseen realm. That's something that you and I have in common. And I think that's very important for people to recognize that while we think we're fighting battles regarding gender-affirming care, battles against the Republicans or the Democrats, really it's stuff that's happening in that unseen realm. And I think it's very important for us to wake up and recognize that there's stuff happening that's beyond our natural eye to see. And when we understand that, then we can kind of figure out what to do with it a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big theme of the book too. It's that it's a spiritual war that we're engaged in. And, I've been giving more and more speeches lately to these different Republican groups, certainly in Northern California at the moment. And, the emphasis I have time and time again is that, get your Bible open and start reading. And the reason I say that is when I looked at Charlie, for example, I wondered how he could be so effective. One of my takeaways was just like, look, this 31-year-old guy, he goes into the lion's den and he is eager, and you can see that he enjoys debate. He enjoys these hostile environments. And most people obviously don't want to be hated. They don't want to go into hostile environments. They don't want to debate. And I dug and just wondered, okay, I want to be like that too, right? And I want to be joyful in it because, look, Charlie loved people, and you could see it when he went and talked to these different people. And that conviction, the ability to do that, came from his faith. And the thing that holds so many of us back from becoming the most effective version of ourselves that God intends us to be is that we fear the condemnation of man more than God. And, if you focus and put your faith, and look, I'm speaking from a personal testimony, and this is part of the story in the book too. I, despite being a Christian, Jimmy, did not put my faith first for a long, long time. It doesn't mean I wasn't a Christian. I grew up a Christian, and I do believe, but I couldn't go and convert an atheist to Christianity, even if they wanted to, because I didn't spend time in the scripture. And the point is, if we want to change the country and fix it and fight back against this stuff, really the Christian has a role in this. And being a Christian is an activist calling from Jesus himself. But the burden's on us to study these issues and study the opponents, understand the devil, understand the left, understand their arguments, so that we can make converts to the causes of liberty, of faith, obviously, too. Because it's not enough to convince somebody, right, Jimmy? Okay, I believe in Jesus. Okay, well, I mean, that's great, but that's not going to convince somebody who knows nothing about the Bible to open themselves to that reality. And the same thing, sure. So Charlie would study these issues. He had confidence and conviction that came from his faith and his rigorous study. And that's why he was able to be so effective. And we can do that too, because we know what the arguments of the left are. They're not like surprising. We know what they say about every issue, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They say we're Nazi, homophobic, all these things. The name of the book is called For Christ and Country, The Martyrdom of Charlie Kirk, written by my friend Drew Thomas Allen. You see him on the screen. You see the book across back behind him. If you don't have a copy of it, you ought to get a copy of it. And again, nothing says love on Valentine's weekend than to share the book, For Christ and Country, The Martyrdom of Charlie Kirk. And I know the first time you were on talking about the book, Amazon was banning you, but you're all healed up on Amazon, which means people can get that book in most places by the end of the day or by Valentine's morning. And again, nothing says romance like a little book by Drew Thomas Allen.
That's right. I'm gonna make sure I share that with my wife. I'll see if she agrees.
Yeah.
She's wondering what we're doing for Valentine's Day tomorrow.
You're reading my book, baby. That's what we're doing, reading my book. So, Drew, appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for hopping in here. Drew Thomas Allen, again, the name of the book is For Christ and Country, The Martyrdom of Charlie Kirk. Thank you very much, Drew Allen. Appreciate you being on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Friday the 13th. Are you superstitious or are you just a little bit stitious? I am not. I'm thankful for the number 13 because I was born on Friday. I was born on Thursday the 13th of November, but sometimes my birthday this year, I think, will fall on Friday the 13th. Anybody superstitious out there? The airlines they don't have a row 13. The elevators don't have a 13 either, but please, my friends, you'll make it through it. You'll be okay. You don't have to be superstitious about the 13th today. And Valentine's Day is tomorrow. And the question is this. You ready for this? Who all do you celebrate for Valentine's Day? It says 57% of Americans believe, especially that they believe that Valentine's is to celebrate all the people in your life that you have love for. It doesn't have to be romantic or erotic. It can be platonic. I told you my grandparents always send us a Valentine's card. My mother would have an Easter basket at Easter for us as kids, and we'd always get a Valentine's present from my mother as well. So anyway, who all do you celebrate your Valentine's Day? Is it only for your spouse or significant other, or do you share the love that you celebrate with other people, even though you may not be married to those other people? That's the question I asked for you. Who all do you celebrate on Valentine's Day? That is your question of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, we celebrate every day the name and the business of Sherry Cree. She's one of our great sponsors of the program. So many people help make this show possible. Sherry's very consistent, regular, day after day, week after week. She's partners with the show. We always appreciate her. She was the first one that stepped up and said, we'll support the program when we did it. She's a great realtor. We want to bring her into the conversation. Sherry, good morning to you, and glad to have you on the program.
Good morning, Jimmy. Happy to be here.
You and I were kind of texting back and forth, and the listeners know this, and I'll show this because it ties into a topic I've been hitting this week that many of us, especially Gen Xers like myself, are getting to the place where our parents are getting older, and it can be a long road, and sometimes it's, a change is coming. And I told the audience that 2 years ago, I celebrated my mother's 80th birthday. She drove herself there. She did a great job getting there. Now she's totally not independent living. She's independent living. Now she's not. And it's been a big transition, dealing with her house, dealing with her belongings, all the stuff we've had to deal with. And I thought it was a great topic you wanted to talk about, helping people to know that when it comes to taking care of a parent or helping a parent get a little bit older, there's a lot of things that we need to know about, and you want to help people know about those things.
Yes, I have a special focus in serving real estate needs for seniors and then also the family members with aging parents. So there are a lot of different situations, like relocating your aging parent from out of state to be closer so that you can be more involved in the care, or they just want to be involved more with the grandchildren's lives. Grandchildren are the biggest motivation for seniors for moving from where they are to closer. So I have a special focus in serving those situations. And as a part of the, my realtor involvement with that situation, I've been hosting a speaker series, a monthly speaker series called Aging Wisely, in partnership with local library. And we cover all different topics from estate planning 101 to financial fraud prevention, sometimes like in fall, mental health for seniors, grieving and isolation. How do they cope with, the mental health during the holidays? So that's been very successful. We have a lot of engagement from the community.
The voice of Sherry Cree. If you're listening to the podcast later on the program, you don't see the name on the screen. You'll hear her voice. That's Sherry Cree, great sponsor of the program. Sherry, if those of us that have those parents that are getting older, I know you have a mother that's getting up in years, living her best life as well. How can we help our parents to we don't want to take control of their life, but how can we encourage them to, hey, let's start taking some steps? Because sometimes somebody gets older, they're like, they're in denial. They don't want to start decluttering. They don't want to start worrying about estate planning. They don't want to think about that. How can we, is there a way to kind of encourage our parents and those around us to age wisely themselves? What's the best way to do that?
Well, there's no like one best way, but I think we need all respect for their wishes. It's their life and their lifestyle. So a lot of seniors want to stay in place. They don't want to go to senior community or care community. So there are a lot of like a home modification to accommodate physically, like a handlebars, ramps, all different things.
Yep.
Also, there are like tons of in-home care companies. They provide a visit for grocery shopping, house cleaning, non-medical care. There are tons of companies that provide those care. And talking about this speaker series, I had a very interesting experience this week. February, it's always second Wednesday, and February's topic was AI and technology for seniors.
Yeah, it's all that in your notes. Talk about what you learned, AI and seniors, that you don't think of that. You think of the younger crowd maybe having some benefit or engagement with AI, but you learned some things this week. What was it?
Yes. So this AI recording device, you can attach to your cell phone or you can just carry a piece. They record your conversation and summarize it and then analyze it. So for just a great example, let's say not all of us live, right close to our aging parents. They go to doctor's appointment, and then they discuss some serious health issues. And you can record the doctor conversation and it'll summarize. And then it also has correct medication prescribed and then what you need to know about. And then you can ask AI for a question like, hey, I'm taking this vitamin, pills. Is that going to be any issue reacting with the medication that being prescribed? Oh, I forgot how to take those medication. Was it like, twice a day in the morning and before bed, or is that did I have to eat before taking a medication? So without even without being a senior, if we had a complicated health situations and go to doctor's appointment and discuss all these things, it's hard to relate to the family members that involved. So this recording device and then summarizing it and then you'll be able to share with the family member. That will make things so much easier for their adult children to be involved in their health decisions.
Yeah. I know you've talked through the years about you've had people around the holidays. They're there with their parents or grandparents, and they go, okay, this is not gonna. This can't continue. We need to help them out, whether fix up the home or help them find another place. And so we're probably at that period of time to where people have gotten through the holidays, they got through the Super Bowl, and in the back of their head, they're still thinking, remember what we saw at Thanksgiving, what we saw at Christmas, that we've got to start taking some action to help mom or help dad or help our parents. This is the time people don't want to put this off. It crossed your mind in November and December, the holidays, for a reason. People need to start making those phone calls, start talking to you about, what are some options for real estate. You get that all the time right after the holidays, people saying, hey, I saw some things. I need to help mama.
Yeah, my own mother, she's 81 and she lives in Tokyo. So I cannot be there to go to doctor's appointment with her or, if something happens. So there's another thing, it's AI based, is like a home monitoring system. Nobody wants a video camera shoot, recording your life, but that there's like a sensor that if the senior resident falls and not getting up, it'll alert like a care check. So those kind of things that you can really, use the technology in your home for safety too.
Yeah. So there's a lot of options out there. Sherry, if somebody wants to kind of get updated, I know you're doing the speaker series, you're hosting it monthly locally in Colorado, but somebody's, let's say, out of state or they're not necessarily in your immediate area. Is there a place that you would recommend they go to learn some of these technologies, or should they call you? Because maybe they're like, hey, that home monitoring system, that sounds fantastic. What's the best way for people to figure out some of these ways to help their parents or themselves age wisely?
Yeah, so I'm a connector. So, it doesn't have to be physically in Colorado, but I know somebody in Colorado in that particular field, and that person can probably connect you to your state uh, individual business. So, yeah, I think it doesn't have to be me, but somebody that you can trust. You should start discussing what you need. And then also, again, with the AI help, you can do a lot of research easily. And then you can do, especially like seniors, they don't want to, type up on their phone or a computer, but you can use your voice, say, talk like a regular person that, hey, I'm worried about my stability, but I want to stay at home. What are the options that we should look into? And then I'm sure they will, have, extensive, information there.
Go to the website homeswithsherry.com. And again, if you're thinking of real estate, Sherry, you did a stunning number last week about how many realtors last year didn't do any transactions. And I've been preaching it like it was a sermon. If you're going to interview a realtor, you need to make sure you have somebody that's actually in practice and actually doing business, not because they handed you a card at the PTA meeting. You need people that are in the business. That's what you're doing. You're an active realtor. Don't just have the sign on the door. You actually are involved in real estate on a daily basis. And people need to reach out to you. Homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. And again, she does have a special focus on seniors. So if you're looking, let's say, a house that would be better for mom, better for dad, maybe you're looking for yourself as you want to age wisely. You have a special focus on that, and you treat those very special when it's a family of senior citizen or a senior citizen calling you. That's one of your passions.
And one little thing that about those in-home care, that the companies who send somebody to come in and clean the house or do the grocery shopping or help you with around the house, you can use VA benefit for those too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of tricks here, and there's a lot of it can be overwhelming drinking from a fire hose. Believe me, that's been the last 12 months of my life, but there's a lot to learn and a lot to prepare in advance for. Sherry can help you. It's one of her passions. And again, if you're out there wanting to downsize your home, upsize your home, move mama in with you, or whatever the case may be, call Sherry and have her help you. So she really likes helping families look after the seniors and the elderly among us. Sherry, appreciate you, my friend. Homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. Go to the website and again, prepare in advance. For that. And if you were with your family, you're with mom and dad over Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you saw and said, I don't know how much longer they can live like that. I don't know how much longer they can be, that we're going to have to fix some things up or get them a different place. Start preparing now. Have those conversations, and Sherry will help you. Homeswithsherry.com. All right. Glad to have all of you here on the program. How's everybody doing? Delilah, you all right? This morning very quiet today. Okay, I like it when you're quiet, but I'm just checking. It's not like you to be so quiet. Just haven't said anything silly is what I'm guessing. All right, Peter Lumaj is my next guest. He's an attorney, Republican, a strategist, and a first-generation immigrant from socialist Albania who has devoted his career to defending freedom and constitutional principles. He's also a conservative candidate for the Connecticut Secretary of State in 2026. And he joins us now from the green room. Peter Lumaj back on the show. Peter, welcome back in, sir.
Thank you. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you here. Switching gears from elderly parents that we had talked about earlier in Charlie Kirk, we switch gears again and talk about immigration into this country. Peter, you've been watching as an immigration attorney. You've been watching the actions and the reactions that have happened in Minneapolis. We found out yesterday that Tom Homan has said, we've kind of accomplished what we're doing. We're sort of dialing back a little bit in Minnesota. Through all the rhetoric, through all the deportations, through all the rioting in the streets, we still have a very broken immigration system in this country. It's not what it should be. And I wish, Peter, that people would talk about how to fix the problem overall, as opposed to, I don't like what Trump does, or I don't like what this person does. It's a bigger picture problem that's going to be there if we don't fix it. After Trump's out of office, it doesn't matter. We have a broken system, don't we?
We do actually, and what happened is that it was a pretty good system. When someone wanted to come to the United States, there was a procedure to come here legally. My family and I did it. Generations before me did it. I'm not the only one who did it. But when we were processed to come here through a refugee camp, we had to submit to background investigation, fingerprinted. We needed a sponsor. I mean, there were requirements that we had to meet, but the most important requirement was that you would come to United States with the intent of embracing what America offers, not meaning Americanism. Nowadays, we're enticing people to come to United States for the benefits that they offer, and the Democrats, or that we offer them, and the Democrats are trying to create a permanent underclass, and the permanent underclass would be a voting bloc for the Democrats. That's why they, under the Biden administration, they brought in millions and millions of people without any vetting whatsoever. I mean, I've seen cases personally. My office have seen cases that we turned them down. We wouldn't take the case because they had a huge or a criminal background that we were concerned to have them in the office, let alone to become American citizens and be part of the society. What Trump is doing, I don't think that Tom Homan has surrendered when it comes to Minneapolis. He's not surrendered at all. I think he's calming down the tensions over there, which is the right thing to do, because the Democrats are very savvy, very smart when it comes to making an issue that shouldn't be an issue, making it actually an issue for the midterm elections. And they are doing that. They're taking advantage of it. And the Republicans have to be very careful. I think Trump made the right decision, sending Tom Homan to Minneapolis and say, listen, calm things down, but we're going to pursue the goal of ICE. And I think they are not giving up on that. They are not going to surrender. They're going to pursue this. And anyone who has a criminal record in the United States and is illegal is going to be removed. It's just a matter of time, nothing else.
Yeah. The voice of Peter Lamage, he's my guest. He's an attorney, Republican strategist, first-generation immigrant from socialist Albania. Peter, I've watched several of these interviews, especially at the height of the tension in Minneapolis. They would walk up to people on the streets and they'd say, "What do we hate ICE?" And they'd go off about ICE. Oh, so do you think that child molesters or people that have raped children should be able to stay in our country or be shipped? Oh, if you went through the crimes that some of these nefarious people had done, everybody said, yeah, those people shouldn't be here. And yet they were still out there protesting the work of ICE out there. So we seem to have a disconnect. We can all agree that certain naughty people should not be allowed to stay here. They should be exported from our country. And yet people can't let all their political hatred and political ideology die down to say, hey, we actually agree on this. That's what baffled me. I'm watching these people say that, yeah, those characters, if that's really true, those people shouldn't be here. And yet they were still wrapped up in so much ideology, they couldn't see the truth here.
Well, some of these protesters, if not the majority of them, they are well organized, well financed, and I believe that they are actually agitators who are going to these towns, various towns, to agitate, the movement and to organize these movements against ICE. I mean, we should understand one thing, that immigration law is federal law. And federal law supersedes state law. And therefore, the only ones who can enforce federal law would be ICE agents, in this case, with immigration. What's happening with the elected officials, when they, especially the Democrats, when they are arguing that no one is above the law, it really baffles me that they make that statement and then they say, oh, but illegal immigrants are somehow above the law. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, we should allow these, if the state or local government is not willing to cooperate with ICE, at least they shouldn't hinder them from performing this job, which has become very, very dangerous at this point. I mean, it's unfortunate, but we are at the verge of really getting these men and women in harm's way. And we're doing this. American citizens are doing this. I mean, look, come to United States, come properly, follow the procedures that we have, follow the laws that we have, embrace what we have over here. I don't see America being that xenophobic country that some other country would be. Look, one thing that I like about Israel, they have a unique, and so does Mexico, by the way, but Israel, they have a unique way of allowing someone to immigrate to Israel. You have to be somehow of your Jewish ancestry, whether you're a Jew or your parents were or someone in your family was, and they will give you priority to move in a country where they have the culture, they have the language, they have the faith, they have the religion, and you have things in common. What we've been doing in the United States and Europe also, we've been importing people who have nothing in common with what America stands for. If you see one of these protests recently, I think one of the in Chicago, I was counting all the 50 flags in that protest, in that rally. Only one American flag was there. The rest of them were Mexican flags. If they miss Mexico so much and they have such a great respect for that flag, please get a one-way ticket and move back to Mexico, where you speak the language, you have the culture, you have the religion, you have everything in common with Mexico, and we have no problems with that. But the interesting fact is that most of these people were American-born citizens, and most of them were white liberals who were carrying those flags, who had nothing to do with the Mexican culture or the Mexican language or the Mexican challenges or that they are facing in the United States. This is a very well organized liberalism in the United States that is challenging the president of the United States no matter what he does. I think the president is doing a great job. He's calming down. I mean, who thought that Donald Trump is going to be the reasonable person at this point in the United States? Because the media portrays him, in various ways, the Democrats, you name it. But he's the one who's calling for calm. He's the one he's calling for reasonableness. He's the one who's saying, we're going to enforce the law, but you have to allow us to enforce the law. It is the federal law. And look, every elected official, when they get sworn in to uphold the Constitution of the United States. They're violating that law. They are violating that law. They know that the supremacy clause of the Constitution is there, and they must respect it. They know that Title 8 of the United States of the Immigration Act, if you harbor or help an illegal alien in your area, that is punishable by fine or jail or both. They are violating all of these laws as elected officials, and I think the Department of Justice is going to have to start going after them.
Yeah. Again, the voice of Peter Lumage, an attorney, Republican strategist, also conservative candidate for Connecticut Secretary of State in 2026. We'll talk more about that here in just a second. Peter, another thing that bothers me about some of these protesters and some of these people on the streets when you hear the interviews is they don't seem to have learned the history of what you escaped from communism, the real consequence of communism. They seem to want this ideology. They want to, the left has gone to Mamdani. They've gone to people like AOC. They picked up the old mantle that Bernie's too old to carry now, but they just seem to be ignorant, not just about the topics of immigration, and federal law says that you're not above the law. If you came here illegally, there's a consequence for it. But they also seem to be ignorant of the fact that communism doesn't work. It's killed millions of people around the globe, from Russia to China and other places. Talk about that. It's got to annoy you. You almost lost your life leaving Albania, fleeing communism, and you've got these young whippersnappers out there with blue hair in their mama's basement screaming that we need to be a communist country.
Look, I've seen communism. I've endured communism. I escaped communism, and I came to the United States, and thank God I ever made it, and I would do it again if need be. Had my brothers and I been caught escaping communist Albania, we could have been in prison for a long time, beaten and tortured, or even killed. The moment my brothers and I escaped Albania, communist agents, they showed up, they rounded up my family, took them to a concentration camp, and I always tell people that they tortured my father to death because he had failed to notify the government that we wanted to search for freedom, pretty much escape and go to the United States eventually. I believe that he sacrificed his life so my brothers and I can live in freedom. We found freedom here, but everything that America stands for right now is under attack by the left. You talk about the Constitution, they don't like it unless it serves them well somehow. You talk about the Declaration of Independence, you talk about our Christian values, you talk about family values. They think that socialism, which will have full command and control over the individual, they think is the solution to the challenges that they face. Capitalism is the solution. Republicanism is the solution. Our values are the solution. We don't see people leaving the United States and going to Cuba. We don't see people leaving and fleeing the United States and going to North Korea. We don't see people fleeing the United States and going to Albania or whatever country, socialist country you're talking about. But we see people from those countries wanting to come to the United States. And when I see these American-born citizens who are so brainwashed by the educational system and other sources, I would say, and they want to embrace this failed ideology, this evil ideology that has caused so much chaos and mayhem and suffering and killings in the world. It really baffles me that I'm seeing this. I never thought that I would come to the United States and 39 years later, I would have to be facing the exact same totalitarianism, if you will, that I face back home. I'm not saying that socialism is spread in the United States in national level, but when you have elected officials such as Ilhan Omar, Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, Mandami, and they openly promote socialism in this country and we vote for them and elect them, this is a cause for concern for generations to come. And we better identify this ideology and try to defeat it as soon as possible, because socialism is here in the United States. The question is, how can we defeat it now? Do we have the backbone, the character, and the fortitude to stand up to them and defeat them? Because this ideology is going to be the next cancer that we have to fight in the West.
Yeah. Again, the voice of Peter Lumaj. You're an attorney, practicer in Connecticut. You also are a candidate for Connecticut Secretary of State this year, 2026. You've got your own great story about the American dream, fleeing communism, the fact that your father died from that concentration camp as your brothers fled. I mean, what a great biography. And you want to get the word out that immigration is a serious thing that we should treat with diligence and respect, and communism is a dangerous thing that we should treat with fear and trepidation. It is a fantastic message, Peter. If somebody wants to learn more about you, maybe even out of state, help you become a Secretary of State in the great state of Connecticut, how do they do that, sir?
Well, two quick things. First of all, you have to be a resident of Connecticut to donate to my campaign, because it's a program that is called SEP, which is government funded, so no one else can make a donation. But if they want to get involved, I'm at peterlumaj.com. It's a website. All the other platforms are there. The last name is spelled Lumaj. It's one word, peterlumaj.com. I think we're doing well. We're almost qualified for the government funding. I'm being received very, very well. I'm supporting the SAFE Act that the president has introduced, and hopefully is going to be able to go through the Senate and get it approved, where people have to prove that they are American citizens. They have an ID card to vote. And, these are things that just commonsensical things. Look, Connecticut is known to be a state where voter fraud is an issue. We have not even 0.5% of the U.S. population lives in Connecticut, yet 10% of voter fraud allegations have been made from my state. And I'm definitely 100%, if I win, going to make voter fraud a felony, that anyone who cancels your vote and my family's vote is going to have to go to prison if they do that.
Wow. PeterLumaj.com. It's right there on the screen, PeterLumaj.com. That's a pretty good law Connecticut has, that you can't donate from outside states. That may be something a lot of states should consider, but there's a lot of election reform that we should be considering, and the SAFE Act is a good part of that. And I agree with you, and hopefully that gets, I hope that gets passed through the Senate, and they should be doing that now. I hope so. PeterLumaj.com. I appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for hopping on the program, and we'll talk again soon. I very much hope so. PeterLumaj.com. Ladies and gentlemen, guess what? Bless your little heart. Doug Giles is going to be on the program here in just a second. He is stepping into the green room now and making sure I'm sure the makeup crew has gathered around him. Okay, probably not. By the way, question of the day is, who do you celebrate for Valentine's Day? It was oftentimes about romance and flowers and candies and chocolate. But growing up, my grandma always sent us Valentine's cards in the mail. My mother always made sure we had a Valentine's card, a Valentine's treat or something like that. So the question of the day is, who do you celebrate for Valentine's Day? Is it just a romantic getaway, a romantic dinner for you and your spousal unit? Or is it something you spread some love to all the other people in your life? Is it a romantic/erotic Valentine's celebration only, or there's some familial and platonic relationships that you celebrate as well? I always, when my son was little, I always made sure he got a Valentine's card. I always got him a gift or something, Happy Valentine's Day or something like that. So I've done that, but it seems like all the emphasis publicly is on the romance of it and the dinners and the diamonds and things like that. But 57% of Americans say that they celebrate all the relationships they have, that in the family, especially where there's a lot of love and a lot of care. So just a curious question. How many of you are aligned with that 57% of Americans? By the way, talking about Friday the 13th, Arloa, what a great story. Arloa says our son was, because I asked, are you superstitious or a little bit stitious about the 13th? I'm not. I was born on November 13th. Arloa says our son was born on Friday the 13th after 4 miscarriages. God bless you, Arloa. We celebrate Friday the 13th. No superstitions there. I think this one's already been on the screen. Apologies, producer Chad. Stacey says, I celebrate Valentine's Day with my husband and boyfriend. Joking, spending time with her husband. Yeah, I think she means her husband is her boyfriend. I think it was Stacy's husband yesterday that got in the chat room and said he takes his wife on a trip every year if she's a good girl. on Valentine's week because it's also her birthday week. He can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, but only if she's a good girl. I thought that was funny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Doug Giles is in the green room, and here he is, my brother from a different mother, and good to have you. You can find him on the Twitter at the Art of Doug. Just the Art of Doug. That's his handle. Doug Giles, good morning, sir. How are you?
Kicking ass, Jimmy. How are you, big dog?
I've been seeing some of your fishing photos, and you've been out doing some fishing, and it's any hunting lately? I mean, you've got some good kill behind you, but you've been pretty busy, sir. Outdoorsman.
Yeah, I tell everybody that I do regular hits with that the fall and winter is hit and miss for me because Dougie liked to pursue skins and scales. That's for sure. Fin and fur, man. Fin and fur.
In May, I'm taking my son when he has a couple of weeks break between college and heading into the summer football program at where he plays football in college. I'm going down to a friend's house who lives in Costa Rica, right there on the beach, and he's gonna go out his first boat to do some deep sea fishing. And my friend says we're gonna catch some good stuff. I'll send some photos to you, Doug, and see how you approve. I figure I'm gonna be chumming off the side of the boat, and I'll draw the fish in for my son because well, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I've never gotten seasick, man, and I've fished in some just horrendous conditions. We were fishing out of Isla Mirada down in the Keys, and it was 10 to 12 foot seas. And my dad was there; he didn't get seasick, and we had a couple of other people there. Dude, they chummed the whole day. I've never been seasick in my life, and like I said, man, I've fished in some rough chop, and I hear it's the most miserable thing that can occur to a human being, aside from watching Rosie O'Donnell, river dance and Borat's thong.
I got seasick took my son whale watching off the coast of California when he was little, and I thought it was kind of fun. I got to the front of the boat. I'm like, it's the Titanic, and I'm just having fun. And then I realized I probably should keep my eye on the horizon. And let's just say I and about 5 other guys were at the back of the boat real soon, leaving something in our wake that was not pleasant. So I learned to keep my eye on the horizon. All right, Doug Giles, you sent me a story. I thought the caption was great. How to avoid getting Nancy Guthrie. Now, everybody's at the mystery of this whole thing. But the bottom line, you have an elderly lady living in a house in a kind of remote, quiet neighborhood, the Catalina Hills near Tucson. And, you kind of look, my mother's in her 80s. Now she lived alone for many, many years. And you go, wow, how do you avoid getting Nancy Guthrie? I mean, that's scary stuff.
Yeah, one of the number one on my list is if you're an old lady, old man, anybody nowadays, you don't have to be old, but do not answer your doorbell frickin' ever, especially after midnight. Hello. Yep. Don't answer it. Like I live in out in the country, and on a couple acres, and our neighbors, similar type of setup, right in front of our community. As people, drive in, it says no soliciting. So nobody belongs in our neighborhood ringing our bell for any reason. I tell my friends, don't show up to my house. Don't. Text me if you're coming through. Because, from the stuff that I do and our family's done for the last 20 years, my head's on a swivel. And I carry everywhere that I go. Everybody's like, you're paranoid. It's like, no, I'm paranoid when I'm not carrying. When I am carrying, I'm safe and warm and fuzzy. But I tell my wife all the time, like when I go out of town and stuff, don't answer the frickin' door. Don't answer it. Unless you've called somebody or invited them over, screw whoever is ringing your doorbell. Okay. Number 2, you got to get dogs. Get some dogs, man. And one dog that's always on alert, never off, not lazy, sleepy, dumb. And that alert dog, make sure it's got a great bark. It's got a good bark that'll alert you and send a message to whatever dipstick's trying to intrude that we're on to you. And then you got to get another dog, Jimmy, 2 dogs, 2-dog night, and get a big ass silent dog that will eat an intruder's face off. So those are my first 2 tips.
I like it. Let me ask you, just curious what happens in the mind of Doug Giles, and probably a lot of people are. You watching this Nancy Guthrie thing, did you just sit down one day and start writing your top 10, or how did the inspiration come to you? Because I'm reading the list. It's actually a pretty darn good list. How did it come to you? How'd you get to this list?
Yeah, it's just I'm scratching a bald spot on the back of my head just watching, the Keystone Cops. First of all, the Pima County Sheriff's officers, just he's at a basketball game. This is like a Lindbergh level disappearance, and they're finding a glove in the house 12 days later, and I'm like, what the what? And I'm just trying to. So they're not gonna save you. They're probably not gonna find you until it's way too late. Yep. So it all comes back, man, to the individual. It comes back to Nancy, and I'm not blaming Nancy, but it comes back to situational awareness. And if you can't do that at 84, then you need to move in with the kids, or maybe get some younger boyfriend who's like 50. And you play cougar and make certain that he has the safety stuff going down. But I'm just sitting there looking at, the point number 3. It's like, that's a dark house.
Yeah,
it's a dark neighborhood, And what we were always taught, man, is lights. So dogs and lights, lots of lights. And they don't have to stay on all the time to piss off your neighbors or whatever. It doesn't have to turn into a football stadium. But, ooh, baby, those bionic lights that are motion detectors, they'll light up the frickin' place, man, as soon as, an intruder, a mountain lion, or whatever crosses its path.
Yeah. I was amazed. I was listening to one news story. There are people live in the Catalina Hills near Tucson because there's very little light pollution. I'm like, yeah, a little light pollution might have been helpful here in this situation, and you would have been able to see it. So everybody's calling it light pollution. I'm thinking that's not pollution. That could have saved a life.
Yeah, we've got that where I live. I think you got to go, 20 miles before you see, a street light around our house. But I guarantee, man, you frickin' do something stupid and you walk up to my domicile, you're on candid camera, man. It's going to light you up like nobody's business. Here's another thing, man. Point number 4, if you hear someone proceed to enter your home uninvited, screw calling 911. The fastest response time, Jimmy, of a cop is an average of 22 minutes. They're going to get there in 22 minutes. I've got several weapons, and they answer around 1,300 feet per second. So don't call 911. And this is serious. Position yourself behind structure. I've got everything figured out in my home. And I've talked to my wife and my kids when they come and visit. Position yourself behind some structure where you've got a good sight picture, and blast that mofo into hell with your double-barreled shotgun. Doesn't have to be a 12 gauge for the old ladies. A little 410 will do nicely. It's still coming out of the pipe at 1,500 feet per second. And number 5, this is so important. I'm not being cheeky. Cut all your children out of your will and your life insurance policy so they'll have no financial motive to have you offed.
Yeah, that's we were talking about that amazes me, the state planning stuff. We were talking about that earlier with the realtor. It's fascinating advice. Most people never ever prepared. Doug, you're talking about your life. Your family prepared. Your wife's prepared. Here's how we're going to do it. If all hell breaks loose, here's how we're going to answer the gates of hell that are storming us. We're not going to do that. Most people don't think of this scenario. They don't think about even mom living out in a no light pollution area, and is she prepared? Nobody thinks about this, but people really should give it some serious thought.
Yeah, especially if you live, freaking right off the Texas-Mexico border. I mean, that's cartel highway through Tucson and stuff. And again, I'm not trying to give the Guthries any grief, and I'm not blaming Nancy. But if you're going to live nowadays in the United States of liberal acrimony, where you got trans shooters going nuts, and you've got cartel again, a few clicks south of you, then you need to. That's not Mayberry RFD, man, and you might be Aunt B on the inside, but on the outside, you've got, a lot of shady characters all around you. And again, I don't care if it's Tucson or Tucumcari, New Mexico, or wherever, Timbuktu. You've got to understand that there are demons out there. They love dirty deeds. They look for the vulnerable and the weak, and you've got to steel up, man. Whether you're a 90-year-old grandmother or what, you got to stay pissy and you got to be prepared.
Doug Giles. Doug, you always send me photos of your great artwork. People can find it douggiles.art, Doug Giles Art. Look it up. And also, you always write good books. We talk about some of the books that you have out there. Which book should we talk about that people need to buy this weekend? I'm sure there's something about Doug Giles that says Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, the way that I would do a Valentine's to the ladies that are listening right now is get my book, Biblical Badasses, The Women. And you talking about having an edge put to the lassies that you don't get at your typical women's meeting where you're drinking wine and getting sloshed with the girls and just talking about the Psalms. No, you're going to see 10 femme fatales that the Holy Ghost co-opted to do great kingdom stuff. And they don't look like or act like or sound like your typical evangelical lady. So happy Valentine's, Biblical Badasses, The Women.
Biblical Badasses, The Women. You can get it by tomorrow because you just go to Amazon. You may have it by this afternoon. Amazon.com. All books by Doug Giles, but that would be a recommendation for men. This would be a great gift if you haven't gotten those roses ordered or whatever. You can still do that. But Biblical Badasses, The Women by Doug Giles. Guys, you're going to thank me.
Yeah. Sorry, Jimmy. Also, if the women want to get something for their man, get them a print of my David and his mighty men. That will put, if he doesn't have hair on his chest, it'll put hair on his chest. If he has erectile dysfunction, it will it will give him resurrection life. And every pastor, man, that and lingerie. Every pastor, every Christian should have a print of my painting, David and his mighty men, because that, Jimmy, is what biblical men used to look like. They're not these little skinny jeans, big screen, smoke machine Christians. These guys were epic warriors. And I think I'm looking at it right now. I think it's one of the best paintings I've ever done.
Get a print. You can order it all at douggiles.art. You'll find it there. Douggiles.org, and it'll lead you out everywhere. So men, you get your lady the Biblical Badass, The Women book, and ladies, the print of David and his mighty men. That's at the art side. There's a perfect Valentine's. And if you were hoping that maybe it'd be some romance breakout tomorrow night, boom, that is that's going to make it happen.
Yeah, Jungle Boogie, man, Jungle Boogie.
Doug Giles, always a pleasure. DougGiles.org, DougGiles.org. I can't. Doug used the erectile dysfunction. I'm so glad I did not have coffee in my mouth. I almost, it would have come through my nostrils. It really would. And then he said the resurrection power. And then I'm starting to think of scriptures that I think they should put with like the ED commercials. If that same spirit that raised Christ from the dead dwells in you, he will quicken your mortal body. It's an ED commercial. All right. There we have it. Ray says, oh, man, the image of Rosie O'Donnell dancing the river dance in Borat's thong, I feel like hurling right now. Yeah, that's one of my favorites out there. Appreciate you. All right, seriously, those are great gift ideas. All seriousness, those are great gift ideas. And the Amazon book, you can have that delivered by today. You can have that or tomorrow and get it. And that'd be a great gift for your lady. And it's more thoughtful. I mean, you can still do the roses and chocolate and stuff, but hey, give her the book, Biblical Badasses, The Women. And I think it'll be inspirational. All right. And the David and the Mighty Men print. All of Doug Giles' art is fantastic. He got some funny stuff, some Trump stuff. I've got a Charlie Kirk print in my cigar room at my house. I've got a Charlie Kirk print that he did, and he's got a lot of great stuff. Go check it out, and you'll find some great gift ideas there. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time almost for the stolen meme section of the show. By the end of the weekend, we will be over halfway through the month because February is a very short month. And February is a month that scares the heebie-jeebies out of me if I'm walking in the flesh and in the natural, because we are always it's a tough one, raising money for charity. And so, but God has not given us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. So I try not to get wrapped up into that fear and trepidation. But the fact is, I'm about 7 days away from today, 1 week from today. We'll begin a transfer of funds that we do every month around the 20th to hit our payrolls and our teachers and our food supply and everything in Rwanda. And it's going to be 7 days of nose to the grindstone and a lot of prayers on my part, because food is just a necessary part. And when you look at what we spend our money on in Rwanda, yeah, we do construction, that's capital expense, but operational expense, it's our food bill that we are always just seemingly behind a little 8-ball on. And I've broken it down for you. If you could consider a donation today to Rivers Promise, I promise you and I guarantee you that money is going to be well used to feed a child, not just a child, no, these are kids that these are kids that do not eat. They may skip days without a proper meal, maybe months without a proper meal. And malnutrition was such a bad situation. We still have some of it, but the kids at our school are getting much better and they're getting proper nutrition. And we need your help to do it. You say, don't you have a sponsorship program? Yes. But most of the children who attend our school do not have a sponsor. Now, if you want to sponsor a child, that helps because that helps cover their food bill. But most of our kids don't have a sponsor. We wish they did. They don't, but until we get them a sponsor, we still have the food bill. And with inflation, we can't raise sponsors. We have some people that are still kind of grandfathered in, and they have not been able, when they got in the sponsorship program, they were sponsoring at a lower level, and the sponsorship is more now, and the food cost is more. So we have sponsorships in which we still don't cover it because some people are not up at the rate we're at now. And when you have a sponsorship program, you just can't raise the sponsorship rate every time a food bill goes up or inflation happens. It just stays that way. We started off at $35 a month to sponsor a kid. We were that way for almost a decade. And we got people that still at that $35. We've invited people to increase. Some people can't. We get it. We still take care of their kid, but we operate those, take care of those kids at a loss. And so it's, by the way, $65 a month. And I'm told we probably should raise it, but I don't want to raise it. It was just, if you can help us out there, that would be very great. And it's feeding the kids. And it's what the good Lord called me to do. That's why I made a promise to my son named River, and that I'd help take care of all the kids that I could not adopt. Of course, you may know his story. He was adopted from Rwanda. I said that with a Mexican accent for some reason. And my son and I do this together. He's always checking in. How's fundraising doing, Dad? How we doing? When are we going back to Africa? We're going back in December together. I'll be there before on my own, but he and I are going back there together. So anyway, if you could help us out, I could tell you sad stories, and I could show you the kids with their bellies. I could show you all that, and I could show you the happy kids that have eaten food. I could do all that, but you know what we do, and I don't need to do that today. I maybe do about next week, because I do have some new photos that have come in. I do want to share with you. But if you could go today, it's Friday. Maybe you get paid today, because you get paid on the 15th, and today's a Friday before the 15th, so you're gonna hit a paycheck's gonna hit you today. Would you do me a favor? Would you pray about it? Think about it, and make a donation to Rivers Promise today. If you just go to our website, riverspromise.org, and you click greatest need, our greatest need is food. And it's paying our food bill over there. And I can't emphasize it enough and put enough emphasis on it that we need your help. And again, it's real practical. If you can give $1,000, hallelujah, praise Jesus. If you can give $5,000, great. I love that. We've got people that do that several times a year. They make very large donations. But the bottom line of how we operate our charity is a whole bunch of small donations. You'd be surprised at how many small donations that we get. And a small donation would be $5 or $10. If you set up a recurring donation of $10 a month, or just, that's a big deal. If you want to know if food bill works, you donate $9. That is a 1-day supply of eggs for a classroom, because we have to get protein in these kids. And that's just a simple way. Between $15 and $17, it's 1-day supply for one classroom of fruits and vegetables in a class. You can buy with your donation. I put this out, and I'll try to get it out again for you. But it's you can buy a 220-pound bag of beans and rice, and that takes care of a whole bunch of kids. So again, from $9 to on up there, do what you can. But would you consider, even right now, I think I'm about to do the meme roulette, and we'll all laugh and hoo-ha together. Woo-hoo, hoo-ha, Hoo-ha! Yeah. We'll all hoot and holler together, but make a donation. We'd appreciate that. I really, really would. The kids would as well. And yeah, thank you very much for your consideration and attention to this matter, says Donald Trump. Riverspromise.org. All right, here we go. Stolen memes section of the show. Let's do it. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. There we go. I got to put my screen up bigger here on this one. Sorry, I look that guy. That's Doug Giles with a beard. Liberals think conservatives are violent because we own guns. When was the last time a group of conservatives blocked a freeway, turned over cop cars, rioted, looted, threw Molotov cocktails, or burned buildings? Yep, it ain't us that are the violent ones. It's not us. We're peaceful warriors. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. On this day of Black History Month, we recognize Jussie Smollett. He's the first black man to be a victim of his own hate crime. Yep, it's Black History Month, and Jussie, we're thinking of you. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Schumer warns if the SAVE Act passes, it will be nearly impossible for your dead aunt to vote in the midterms. Looks like Chuck's fading there, isn't he? He's nodding off. Anybody see Jerry Nadler at that hearing the other day? He was so concerned about illegals and ICE. He was so concerned about the civil rights violation that he slept through the hearing. Big old fat arse. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Can I see your ID? No, sir, I'm voting today. I don't have an ID. Yeah, that illustrates the absurdity. It's racist to ask for an ID. Tell them that at the liquor store next time. They still ain't going to serve it to you. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. From the Babylon Bee, Democrats counter with the Steal Act to ban voter ID. We have the SAVE Act. They have the Steal Act. We want to require voter ID. They want to ban. Don't you ever show your voter ID. Don't you do it. That's Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffrey, also known as Dollar Store Obama. Here we go. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Oh, it's time for Valentines. There's Bill Clinton. Anybody got this one to hand out at school? I'd play you like a harmonica if you'd be mine. Get it? Harmonica. You got to look at it. Look at the screen. Harmonica. Yeah. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Oh, there we go. Oh, we have more Valentines. Anyway, good to have all of you here on the program. I don't know. I haven't checked with producer Chad to see if we're scheduled to do the show on President's Day. I don't know if we work bankers hours or not. So everybody tune in. We'll let you know. I don't know. Producer Chad and I have not discussed it. I have not been given my marching orders. He runs the show. I just sit here and yap in front of a microphone. I'm like a trained monkey. He winds me up. I clap and play the organ. That's what I do. All right. Pleasure, my friends. Again, riverspromise.org. If you can make a donation, any size is a fantastic one. We don't despise small gifts. We thrive on small gifts, and we appreciate it. We really appreciate those big ones as well, but we'd appreciate you. Delilah says she's not coming in on Monday. Can I give you days off at the Lakey Entertainment Towers, Aiden? You're off on Monday. President's Day. I don't know. We'll figure it out. If I don't see you Monday, I'll see you Tuesday. It just depends on what producer Chad tells me. He sits behind a curtain. He has a joystick, and he marches me around like I'm Joe Biden stumbling through the grass. Right? That's not really true, but it sounded good. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. God bless America. Have a great weekend. Riverspromise.org or info@jimmylakey.com if you want to reach out to the program. Until we meet next week, God bless you. God bless America. Peace. I'm out of here.